Namashvista manamapi Vishati putra atra surupam Rupam tassagrajamuri purim maturim gosvati radhakundamagema ahoradikaumadvasam Prabhu yasya pratidya kripaya Shri Guru Damnatos Gurave Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Tadale Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tad Bhaktaya Namo Namah Ananda Leelamaya Vigrahaya Hemabhadvyasta Visundaraya Tasmai Mahaprema Rasapradaya Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Bhaktya Vina Aparada Lakshay Jivkashta Kamaditoram Kamadi Vipamaitvam Sharanam Prapanam Vrinde Namaste Charanarvindam Vrinde Namaste Charanarvindam Govinda Damodara Madhaviti Govinda Damodara Madhaviti Govinda Damodara Madhaviti Govinda Damodara Madhaviti Hey Krishna Hey Yadava Hey Satyeti Govinda Damodara Madhaviti Ram Sundar Nandasika Marasumrali Manora Rajarasika Mama Kripanidhe Priya Charana Kinkarim Kuru Tavai Vasmi Na Jivami Taramana Iti Vigyaya Devi Tvam Namam Charanantikam First of all, I offer my Sastang Dandavat Puspanjali. My heart like flowers. Retrograde Mercury. First of all, I offer my Sastang Dandavat Puspanjali. My heart like flowers thousands of times at the lotus feet of my holy master, my supremely worshipable spiritual Gurudev. Asmadiya Paramaradhatama Guru Padma Nitya Leela Pravishta Om Vishnupad Ashtotara Satashishimad Rupanuga Acharyavarya Srila Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Goswami. Secondly, I offer my pranam thousands of times at the lotus feet of my Param Gurudev, to Srila Prabhupada, to his Guru and all the great spiritual masters in our Sri Rupanuga Gaudiya Guru Parampara. And finally, I offer my pranam to all the assembled Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis. Let's make some space. Nigamakalpataro Galitam Palam Shikamukat Amrita Trapasamyutam Pat Bhagatam Rasmalayam Ohora Sikha Bhuvibhavaka. In the Mangala Charanam, the auspicious invocation of Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam, the king of all Vedic scriptures, Krishna's literary incarnation. There, let me know when you're ready. You can begin. There's Srila Vyasadeva. He's writing Nigamakalpataro Galitam Palam. The Vedas are like a desire tree. Whatever you want, you can take from them. If you want fame, money, kingdom, beautiful wife or husband, if you want to go to heaven, there's a yagya, there's a vrat that you can do. So whatever you want, you can take from that desire tree, the Vedas. But Nigamakalpataro Galitam Palam, this tree has a fruit. And that fruit is very, very ripe. It is practically liquid. You don't even have to chew, you just drink it. And that is Madhurya Rasa, the nectar of the romantic love of Braja Gopis for Sri Krishna. So, Srimad Bhagavatam, the Vedas are a desire tree, and you can take whatever you want. That's one thing. But what is it that the Vedas want to give to you? That is their fruit. So don't come to the Vedas with your own desire and asking for what you want. Come to the Vedas and ask, oh, what do you want to give to me? And the Vedas will give you the Srimad Bhagavatam. So this rasa, Pibata Bhagavatam Rasamalayam, Srila Vyasadeva is saying, drink this rasa until you are liberated from this world. And even after liberation, you will taste this rasa as well. Even liberated souls, Atmaramas Chamuneo Nigranta Apyurkrame, Kurvanta Hoit Kim Bhaktim Itabhut Guno Hari. Even the liberated souls are attracted to render devotional service to Krishna because he has such astonishing, beautiful qualities. So, Pibata Bhagavatam, Rasamalayam, alai means also until you faint. So relish this nectar till you faint, then muhur. When you wake up, relish it again and faint again. Muraho rasika bhuvi bhavokaha. This nectar of Srimad Bhagavatam is relished by rasik. Who is that? They are the siddhas. Even the siddhas of the spiritual world, they relish this nectar. When Radha Krishna, Lalita Vishaka, Chitratambakalata, Rupamanjari Ratmaje, when they all came to this world, in Gora Leela, they are rasik and they are relishing Srimad Bhagavatam every day. And Moraho Rasika Bhuviva, and on the earth there are some sadhakas as well. They are bhavuk. So the rasiks and the bhavuks, those who attain bhav, and those who have attained prem and entered into the lila, they all relish this Srimad Bhagavatam. It never becomes obsolete, never becomes redundant. So, we see in Srimad Bhagavatam that as Sri Krishna, he is growing. And in his childhood, the end of his childhood, he falls in love with Srimati Radhika and all the Braj Gopis, but mainly Radhika. And so he's feeling so much separation from them and they're feeling separation from him. So their love is so powerful that even though they're forbidden to meet by Vedic Dharma, because Braja Gopis' marriages have already been arranged to others, but still, this Ruddha Bhav, this Mahabhav of Braja Gopis is so intense. Mohan Bhavepi Sarava Vismriti. This love is so intense, it causes Braja Gopis just to forget everything. And when Sri Krishna, Vikshorantam Manaschakre, made up his mind that he wanted to taste this Madhurasa, he went into the forest in the middle of the night and took his bansi to his lips and began to play. And hearing the sound of Sri Krishna's flute, then the anurag in the hearts of the gopis was ignited so intensely that it completely burned to ash all their awareness of their Gurujan, their seniors in society, their local aja, their shyness, their hesitation, their fear of the future. And they, whatever they're doing, they ran to Sri Krishna. At that time, some of the gopis, they were making flower garlands. But at once they just got up and ran into the forest, still carrying the needle and thread in the hand. Another gopi was stirring milk. And hearing the sound of flute, she just ran into the forest, still with the spoon in her hand. Another gopi was putting kajal on her eyes. She had kajal on only one eye. But she ran into the forest with only kajal on one eye. And they ran there to meet with Sri Krishna. So when they met with Sri Krishna, then a beautiful pastime took place. If you ask Krishna, how was the Rasa Leela? Then Krishna becomes stunned, he cannot give an answer. And he just goes, repeats again and again. Madhu, 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 Madhu. He has no words to express it. Why? Because this Rasa Leela is a personality. And the Rasa Leela itself is in charge of this. Krishna and Braj Gopis have no idea what will happen. And it's such a wonderful thing. And when they dance together and experience beautiful pastimes with each other, for Yoga Maya made the night last for billions of years like a night of Lord Brahma. But when that night was finally over, then Braj Gopis, they returned to their homes. And Krishna returned to his home, secretly. Only they knew. No one else in the village knew what had happened. So, Rasa Leela is complete in 5 chapters. Rasa Panchadhyayi. Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th canto, chapter 29 to 33. Then, you have chapter 34. And then comes Yugal Geet. So Yugal Geet is the highest expression of love in separation of Braj Gopis during Vrindavan Leela. There's nothing higher than this. Because Venu Geet is in the stage of Purva Rag when they're falling in love. Pranay Geet is when they're first meeting at the beginning of Rasa Leela, but they haven't experienced Rasa Leela yet. Gopi Geet is when Krishna disappears from the rasa and they're weeping in separation after searching for him everywhere. But that separation brings their Prem to the highest level, then Krishna meets with them, and then the actual Rasa Leela takes place. So now their Prem is called Prauda Prem, fully mature, fully manifested. That is really the Nigama Kalpataro Galitam Palam Shukamukadamrita. That is the ripened rasa. Through this experience of slowly falling in love, then breaking all the boundaries of Dharma, meeting with Krishna, losing him and then finding him again, now the rasa has become ripe. So, out of these Geets, Venu Geet, Pranay Geet, Gopi Geet, now Yugal Geet will come. So this is the highest expression of love in separation during the Braj Lila. So we have chapter 33, the last chapter of Rasa Lila, and chapter 35, Yugal Geet, the proud of Prem, the mature manifestation of Gopi's Prem. So in between this chapter and that chapter, there should be something quite wonderful. Quite wonderful. So what do we find in that chapter? What is that chapter?
34.
Correct. Yeah, but that wasn't my question exactly. But we're glad that you can count it.
Killing of Aristasura.
The killing of Aristasura. No. This is after. That's afterwards. Yeah. No, Ambikavan is in Navadvip.
No.
Yes, yeah. That's in the middle. When Nanda Maharaj gets a snake tries to eat Nanda Maharaj, we mentioned it. Okay. So that's the chapter in the middle. So when you see this chapter, you think, well, this is a little respite from the intensity of Madhurya Rasa. Right? Because it was Rasa Lila. And then you have this pastime of Nanda Maharaj being eaten by a snake and Krishna said, then it goes. So because Srimad Bhagavatam is Kavya, so it is not exactly what the words are saying, but the Dhvani, the implication of the words, and the rasa is in there. So this chapter is extremely beautiful. The meaning is this. Krishna danced in Rasa Lila. His age was, how old was he? How old was Krishna when he danced in Rasa Lila?
Hey.
No, he already went to Mathura before he turned 11. It was about 10 years and 9 months. Anyone else?
6.
6 when he danced on the head of Kalia. He's saying 7. That's when he lifted Govardhan hill. 7 years old for 7 days he held up Govardhan to remove 7 shelters. Anyanyasrai, other shelters. Devashi Bhutaptarinam Pitrinam Nakinkaro Nayam Rinityarada. Okay, is it? So 7, always remember. Govardhan Lila, 7 days, 7 years old, and taking away 7 Ananyasrai, other shelters. So the answer is 8, yeah. So Krishna was 8 during the Rasa Lila. So then, after the Rasa Lila, Krishna's gone home. Gopis returned to their homes. Now Krishna, he becomes 9 years old. So Krishna's 9 now. And that year, when the Govardhan Puja, or the time of Indra Puja came around, which has now become Govardhan Puja, all the Vrajabasis, they did a spectacular Anukut Mahotsav, which was more opulent, more pomp and circumstance than ever before. So everyone was very blissful. And then after that, a few months passed. So that is, Govardhan Puja is in month of Kartik. So a few months passed, and then the month came of Falgun. So on Falgun, in that month, that is the Falgun Krishna Chaturdasi, the 14th day of the dark moon in the month of Falgun. That is Shiva Ratri. The day when Shiva and Parvati are worshipped. So, because the month of Falgun had come, and very soon, after 14 days, the Chaturdasi will come. So, there's a very famous pilgrimage place where there's a deity of Lord Shiva in the name Pashupati, and his consort, that is Parvati, known as the name Ambika. So therefore the forest where this beautiful temple of Lord Shiva and Ambika is known as Ambikavan. So some persons say that it's on the bank of the Saraswati, northwest of Mathura. And other acharyas, like Srila Jiva Goswami, they consider it's actually quite far away in a place called Siddhapur in Gujarat, which is way over to the west. So it's quite a long journey. So what happened was, as Falgun approached, then people from all over India and even other countries, they set out on pilgrimage to arrive there and perform worship of Lord Shiva on Shiva Ratri in Ambikavan. So we can say it was like a Kumbh Mela. Actually, has anyone ever been to the Kumbh Mela? So you know what it's like. I went to the last Maha Kumbh Mela in Prayag. So there were more than 30 million people came. All the yogis came from the Himalayas and from their caves and mountains, and different sadhus from everywhere. All kinds of people. They come to the holy place to honor take bath at the auspicious moment. And when they come there, spontaneously a temporary town appears, made of all tents and stalls and shops, like a bazaar here and temporary temples here and there, and so many interesting people from all over the world. Srila Prabhupada used to say that Kumbh Mela is actually the world's largest spiritual conference. It's a conference where seekers from all over the world come together to discuss their ideas and realizations with each other. So, this celebration of Shiva Ratri in Ambikavan was a bit like that weeks in advance from all over the place people would set out to meet together for this big mela in Ambikavan. So many persons who go there, their aim and objective is to worship Mahadev, Om Namaha Shiva, and by worshipping Lord Shiva to acquire wealth and to become famous. And every year Vrajabasis used to, not all of them, but some of them, some contingent, the party from Braj would go there representing the Vrajabasis, and they would go to distribute charity. Because many brahmanas and sages would come, so they would distribute so much charity to all of them, because if you distribute charity, then you gain piety, and by that piety, they're distributing charity, that Krishna will be happy. So, now, this year came, this particular year, and the nakshatra that coincided with Shiva Ratri was incomparable. It was an incomparable nakshatra, means a stellar constellation, coincided with the 14th day of the moon. So, the Vrajabasis were thinking, oh, this year we'll give so much charity. We're going to celebrate Shiva Ratri there better than ever before. And especially Krishna. Now he's 9 years old. And he hasn't been before. But Krishna was, oh, Papa, I want to go to Ambikavan. And Krishna was completely restless. He wanted to go so much to this Mela. And when Nanda Maharaj saw Krishna's eagerness, and the other Vrajabasis saw Krishna's eagerness, because they just lived to please Krishna, so then they became inspired and they were also eager to go. But there's a reason why Krishna was eager to go. Because he was anticipating some waves in the river of his Leela that would manifest on this epic journey. So, the Vrajabasis, they engaged their servants in stacking up their bullock carts for this journey. And they also began to make preparations themselves. So the servants were preparing the bullock carts, and the more aristocratic Vrajabasis also, they were stacking their luggage and valuable gifts and many things to give in charity on their bullock carts. So you have to understand, their bullock carts were not just like a flatbed thing that you see trundling around Braj these days. These bullock carts, they were like luxury RVs. You know RVs, recreation vehicles. You know, it's like a like a caravan with a thing at the front you can drive, and in the back. So these bullock carts, they had a room inside. They had 2 stories even. Those sitting places on the top. They were big, quite comfortable, luxurious, with a couple of stories as well, like more or less like a house on wheels. And they could be pulled by these huge bulls with huge horns of Vraja. So Vrajabasis, they were packing everything, and Mother Yashoda, she said, this year I'll also go. I also want to go. And so when Mother Yashoda, who's so dear to all the ladies, the elderly ladies and the younger ladies of Braj, she decided to go. They all became very excited and overjoyed. So everyone was going except for Upananda and Abhinanda. They'd been many times they're old. They're Nanda Maharaj's elder brothers. Upananda and Abhinanda, Krishna's eldest uncles. So they didn't go. They had to, because someone had to stay behind and take care of the cows. They couldn't take all the cows with them. So, but Nanda Maharaj's younger brothers, Nanda and Sunanda, they went with Nanda Maharaj and Krishna because they always feel a mood of protection. So, when everything was packed, then Jai Ho! Oh, Vrajabasis, the caravan pulled away. So as the caravan was pulling away, even from far away, people could hear. They could hear the trundling of the wheels, the creaking of the wheels of the bullock carts. They could hear, among Vrajabasis, there are so many professional musicians and minstrels who recite prayers and poems. So they were singing songs. They could hear the sound, you could hear, mixed in with all this noise, the tinkling of gopis' ankle bells. And the Vrajabasis were all very excited, and they were talking to each other as well. So the humming, the buzzing sound of Vrajabasis' conversations, that was reverberating and mixing with the other sounds. So this procession looked so beautiful. Gopis were sitting on their bullock carts, sometimes in the front, sometimes on the top of the roofs. And they have beautiful lotus eyes that are very shy and startled, glancing here and there, like Kanjan Pakshi, like wagtail birds. And their golden breast like kalash, like water pots, very beautifully decorated with floral decorations. In kasturi, fragrant musk and chandan. So, in this way, the procession of the Vrajabasis on their way, the long journey to Ambikavan, it looks so beautiful. So as they were going along, just like when we were getting closer and closer to the Kumbh Mela, the streets got fuller and fuller. Because as you get closer, the density of all the people who are going there, walking along the paths to get there, so many other pilgrims were coming from all directions. And the crowds of pilgrims, when they looked and they saw Krishna, they were astonished by his beauty. And they just spontaneously calling, Jai, Jai. And the demigods even, the demigods are always eager to see Krishna's pastime. They were flying in the sky and they were looking, Jai, Jai, chanting Jai and showering flowers. So, as they approached Ambikavan, they were just entering into the place of the Mela, Ambikavan. So Krishna climbed up and he took his seat on the top of the bullock cart he was riding in. And he sat there and he appeared to be like a general. Like a general riding on his chariot, surrounded by army, because all running and playing around his chariot, all his Gopal friends. They were not right because they wanted to be close to him, so they were walking and running and playing around his chariot. And Krishna was like, Gopala Chudamani, the Krishna jewel of all the Gopals, like a general sitting on the top of his bullock cart. So, as they began to enter into the festival, so many interesting people and fascinating, colorful tents were there, and Mother Yashoda, she was cuddling Krishna, very lovingly cuddling him again and again, and they were pointing out, look at that over there, look at this over here. So everyone was overwhelmed with curiosity. So, when the Vrajabasis entered into the actual pilgrimage site, there were thousands of people there. And as far as they were concerned, they'd just come to worship Lord Shiva on Shiva Ratri, and they're arriving a few days early. But what happened? They were just like a thirsty person. Someone's really thirsty and they're trying to find water. So they're looking everywhere for water, and then somehow or other by chance they find Amrita, the nectar of heaven. So that takes them by... So in the same way, the purpose of everyone coming there, that was like a thirsty person looking for water. They'd come there to worship Mahadev. But when they got there, they discovered nectar. They had the darshan of Sri Krishna. So just then, as the crowd surrounded the bullock cart of Krishna, and they were all looking at him, it was as if persons who were just minding their own business, going here and there, suddenly there was a great attraction. And all the people at the festival, they began to flow in the direction of Krishna. Just like when rivers are flowing, they stay on the bank. But in the monsoon, then they overflow, and instead of going in the direction where the river's supposed to go, they just break free and they go here in the other direction. So in the same way, though all the people seem to be going here and there, when Krishna entered into that mela, then all the people, whatever they did, they overflowed from their paths, and they're all attracted towards Krishna. Like rivers overflowing and rushing towards the Samudra, Saundarya Samudra, the ocean of beauty. But water is liquid, so it's always flowing. But when this is called the Jana Pravaha, the current of the people, the current of the crowds was flowing towards Krishna, then suddenly that current gave up its liquid quality, because they all became stunned in ecstasy, seeing Sri Krishna's beauty for the first time. So then, now the flow of the Jam Pravaha stopped, became stunned. And in that water, it seemed like the eyes of the people were lotus flowers, because they were staring unblinkingly at Sri Krishna. And just as in water there's one type of like moss. Have you seen, if there's a lake or something, there's a green moss underneath, and it's moving like this underneath the water. So in the same way, that plant is called Shaivala in Sanskrit. In English it's called a Blixa octandra, dark duckweed. So, yeah. So just as the green moss in a lake is moving like this, when everyone became stunned, then their hairs were standing on end and going like this. And there were just some ripples in the lake in the form of tears flowing from their eyes. We cannot describe how beautiful is Krishna, but we can only give some hints by describing the anubhavs of those who have his darshan. So, Krishna controls everyone just by his beauty, or even just by the sound of his name, Krishna. So, everyone was looking at Krishna. And then somehow, by the influence of Yogamaya, the commotion subsided. And then the Vrajabasis arrived at their camp, and Krishna got down, and they began to make their settlement there for the duration of the festival. So when you arrive in a holy place, first thing you have to do is take bath. So all the Vrajabasis, they took bath in the Sarasvati there. And then, after Krishna took bath, he was shining from having fresh bath after the long journey. He was smeared with chandan, sandalwood paste. So he looked so beautiful. And he decided, I want to go and have a look around the Mela. Balaram, come on, let's go. Subal, Sridham, let's go. So then Krishna and his Sakas, they started to wander around and discover what's going on at this Mela. I remember Kumbh Mela is so big. We were there for about 5 days. And we could not even walk around all the places. You could not even see everything there in 5 days. So Krishna and his friends, they set off to discover what's going on here. And they were so delighted Because they were seeing different tents, different types of bullock carts, different types of temporary dwellings, different kinds of people from all over the world who spoke different languages that they'd never heard before, who dressed in clothing that they'd never seen before, who wore ornaments, earrings, nose rings, and different types of decorations that they'd never seen before. They'd come from different states. They saw people selling different kinds of food. That's one of the main things at these big festivals, right? People have some prasadam and they're selling what, South Indian style and Bengali style. Now, of course, Italian also. You can even get pizza at Kumbh Mela these days. So Krishna and his friends, they were going around discovering the different kinds of food from different countries. And wherever they went, everyone was astonished and saying, "Oh look, there's Krishna, there's Balaram." The eyes of the people in the crowds became like tongues licking the beauty of Krishna. And the people, on seeing him, they would rush inside their tents, grab something that was dear to them, just take something that was dear to them and come out. And then Krishna was surrounded by crowds of people, and they were all spontaneously coming and offering gifts and laying them down at his feet. Not only were they offering gifts, but they just stood there with folded hands, and their handsome faces were lowered down, and tears of love were flowing from their eyes. They were giving gifts and they were offering themselves to Krishna. So Krishna was looking around at all the loving people who had come there, very pious people, who were giving their hearts to him. And see, Krishna said, "All your wealth, all your possessions, and all your relatives are mine. They belong to me. So I have accepted them. But now I am offering them all back to you." So speaking these words, everyone became satisfied. And they took their gifts and offerings with them as Mahaprasad. In fact, they themselves had become Mahaprasad, because they'd offered themselves and Krishna had accepted them. So then, after looking around with his friends, Krishna went back to his camp and he took his evening meal, and then he decorated, all Vrajabasis, they decorated themselves, or their servants decorated them in their finest attire, because now it's time for the celebration of Shiva Ratri, the puja of Lord Shiva. So it's Shiva Ratri. That means night. This festival goes on at night, and you have to stay awake the whole night for this festival. So everyone went to the temple of Pashupati and Ambika, and they were fasting. And Krishna and his friends, they all watched with great reverence the Abhishek of Mahadev, of the Shivling of Mahadev. So then, after the puja was over, now it's time for the Vrajabasis to do what they came to do. To get some piety, to get some good karma, so that their village and Krishna can be happy in their village. So you see, the people of this world they do karma kanda, they do pious activities to enjoy. It's a reflection of the transcendental world, where the Vrajabasis are doing pious activities so they can be prosperous. But for them it's not ignorance, for them it's not a problem, because ultimately it's just so Krishna will be happy. So the Vrajabasis, they were distributing all the gifts to the Brahmanas and the sages who had come there. So each Vrajabasi was like a desire tree. Whatever anyone came and asked for, they were giving to them. And among all these Vrajabasis who were like desire trees, Nanda Maharaj, he was standing there shining like the Adhistatri Devata of Kalpavrikshas. Nanda Maharaj, he has a beard, and his beard is like a mixture of black and white sesame seeds. And he has a little bit of a belly, and he's very jolly. And he was there like the Adhistatri Devata of all the Kalpavrikshas, and he was happily giving charity to everyone. And then all the Brahmanas came there because the Vrajabasis' generosity is famous. And then when they'd been satisfied with the charity, Then the Vrajabasis, they bade farewell to the pilgrims, and as those respected pilgrims to whom they'd given charity were leaving, they were singing and they were following them some of the way. This is Vedic culture. When there's someone respectable is leaving, you sing and you follow them for some of the way. So in this way, even though they met so many persons who they didn't know or they hadn't seen before, each person left feeling as if that they were an old acquaintance of the Vrajabasis. Their affection was so sweet. So then, the next night was, after Chaturdasi, then the next night is the Amavasya, the dark moon night. So on the dark moon night, by then many of the crowds had left, but the Vrajabasis were still there, and because they had stayed awake completely the previous 2 days, they were really tired. So the Vrajabasis, they just took rest in their camp, and Krishna, along with some of his friends, went to play in the distance somewhere. But while he was playing, because of staying awake the previous 2 days, Krishna also lay down, put his head in the lap of one of his friends, and Krishna fell asleep as well. So then, in the darkness of the night, then an old python, very old python, who didn't have any poison, he slithered in the dark up to where Nanda Maharaj was sleeping and began to swallow Nanda Maharaj's lotus feet. So at that time, because Nanda Maharaj is always, when he goes to sleep, he's just thinking of Krishna all the time. You can experience that, even here at this festival. If you're hearing all day about Krishna and doing kirtan of Krishna, when you go to your tent at night, you lie down, it's like Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. Feel Krishna in all of your senses. So that's a small shadow. Vrajabasis are, all their senses seem like Krishna's living everywhere. They're only thinking of Krishna all the time. So when Nanda Maharaj was starting to be swallowed by the snake, he immediately woke up and Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. And he was calling out, oh Krishna, oh Krishna. Even in your presence, this snake is swallowing me. So why was he surprised? Because he was remembering that when, after Krishna was born, then Gargacharya came to Nanda Gokul, and secretly he did Krishna's Namkaran Samskar, name-giving ceremony, in the Goshala. And at that time, Garga Muni said, Anena sarva durgani yuyam anjas tarisyata, which means, from the horoscope of this boy, I understand that whatever danger or obstacle comes in your life, you will cross beyond that obstacle because of the presence, auspicious presence of this boy. So Nanda Maharaj, when he was being swallowed by the snake, he was Krishna, Krishna. How? Because the pious persons, they never doubt the words of a sadhu. How could the words of Gargacharya not be true? How could I be swallowed by a snake here in Krishna's presence? So then, Nanda Maharaj, absorbed in thoughts of Krishna, and feeling separation from him, Nanda Maharaj fainted. But the snake was still and trying to take the lotus feet and the legs of Nanda Maharaj further and further down his throat. So there are some members of the Vrajabasis, they're called Chatras, and they're basically the security among the village in Nandagaon. So they were staying awake at night. They were like the night watchmen. And when they heard Nanda Maharaj shouting with great courage, they immediately jumped up and they drew their swords and they began hacking away at this python. But this python was so tough, he was impervious to their swords. So then those chatras, those guards, they thought, what can we do? Okay, so then they were keeping a fire burning at night. So they ran and they got burning logs of wood from the fire, and they started whacking the snake and trying to burn him with the logs of wood. But whatever they did, it was to no avail. And they felt great distress. It was as if they were seeing Nanda Maharaj like a moon being swallowed by Rahu. It was like an eclipse. So now Krishna was quite far away at some distance. But the very first time Nanda Maharaj called out, Krishna! Then Krishna, who was sleeping in the lap of his friend, immediately woke up. And then from there Krishna came running. So as he ran there, the tail of the snake was very, very long and extended through into the forest. So just as Krishna was approaching, not deliberately or by any plan, just somewhere or other, unintentionally, his foot touched the tail of the snake. And immediately, when Krishna's lotus foot touched the tail of that snake, then that being, whoever he was, by the touch of Krishna's lotus feet, immediately attained bhav. Bhav. Ratri. Sthayi bhav. Ecstatic love for Sri Krishna. And leaving the snake body behind, an effulgent personality. A demigod, a Vidyadhara demigod, but he was a boy. Appeared from the body of the snake. But Krishna, he wasn't bothered about, demigods appearing. He was concerned about his father. So Krishna came up to his father, and when the snake died and the Vidyadhara came out, his mouth came open, and Nanda Maharaj, he let go basically of Nanda Maharaj's feet. And Krishna came where his father was fainted and touched Nanda Maharaj with his lotus hand. And just by the touch of the soft hand of Krishna, then Nanda Maharaj just regained his consciousness and his composure as if nothing had happened. It just became normal. He didn't have post-traumatic stress disorder. So then Krishna, Shukadev Goswami, when he is describing this, he said, then Rishikesh, he turned towards that effulgent personality who was standing with folded hands and his head down, dressed in beautiful golden ornaments. And Krishna turned to him and he posed a question. Krishna said, my dear sir, you appear to be so wonderful, glowing with such beauty. Who are you? And how is it that you were forced to inhabit the body of this terrible snake? Now Shukadev Goswami, when describing this, he uses the name Rishikesh. So Rishikesh means that Krishna is the master of the senses. And the implication is this, that by now, because of the commotion, whoever was there in the festival, all the Vrajabasis and other persons, they gathered around and there was a big crowd there. So when Krishna asked this question to that Vidyadhara, then everyone's senses were focused on the Vidyadhara to hear the answer. So Krishna, being Rishikesh, had deliberately focused everyone's senses on him for a specific purpose, and that is that Krishna wanted to instill into the hearts of everyone, and by hearing this pastime, instill into the hearts of the whole world a fear of committing offense to a Brahmin, to a sage. Because the Vidyadhara said, I am a famous Vidyadhara named Sudarshan, and I was very opulent and beautiful. I used to wander here and there, flying in the sky in my airplane, enjoying myself. But once I saw some Brahmin sages. And these Brahmin sages were physically not particularly attractive. And so, being proud of my own beauty, I laughed and I made some jokes at their expense. So, because I ridiculed them, because of this sin of ridiculing a Brahmin, so then they cursed me to have this lowly form as a snake. But, oh Krishna, now I realize it wasn't really a curse, but it was a benediction. Because now by their mercy, I have been touched by your lotus feet. You who are the supreme master of all the worlds, and have been relieved of all inauspiciousness. So by this pastime, Sri Krishna is giving a teaching to the world. Don't disrespect the Brahmanas. Don't see faults in them. In their swabhav, their nature, thinking, oh, this person is angry, or this person is lazy, or whatever. And don't see any fault in their physical body also. So Rupa Goswami said, Drishta swabhava janita vapushasta dosha na prakritattvami abhakta janasya pasyat Gangambasam nakalu budbuddha paina panka brahma travatvam upagatsati nira dharma. Just as the Ganges is always transcendental, even though during the rainy season it's full of mud and bubbles and many things are floating in it, but it's still transcendental. So in the same way, even though a pure devotee or a great sage may appear to have some faults in the physical body or in their character, in their swabhav, in their nature, but we should not see that. We should know that they are always transcendental. Just like the Ganges may seem polluted, but if you do puja of the Ganga, then your heart will be purified. And you will have the darshan. Actually, she's goddess, Ganga Devi. Even though now it may be full of industrial waste and toxic chemicals and everything. But she's still transcendental. So in the same way, even though a Vaishnava may seem to have some material fault in the body or in character, but if we worship that Vaishnava with honor, then we can see they have actually divine transcendental form as an associate of Shri Krishna. So, then that Vidyadhara, he said, "Oh my Lord, you destroy fear for those who are afraid of this material world and take shelter of you. By the touch of your lotus feet, now I am freed from this curse. So please, grant me, allow me to return to my own planet." So his inner feeling there is, now I am purified by the touch of your lotus feet. I want to go to my planet and everyone I know there, I will also purify them. So then the Vidyadhara, he said, oh, this is in Srimad Bhagavatam, he says, "Oh Maha Yogi, oh great Yogi, oh Satpate." That Satpate means Lord of the devotees. "Please command me as you will, Lord of the universe. I am surrendered fully to you." So the implication here is, when Sudarshan Vidyadhara is saying you are Satpate, the Lord of your devotees, means that you are the Lord of the life of Nanda Maharaj. And even though I tried to devour him, I tried to kill him, you completely saved me from this wicked materialistic nature and made me your devotee. So you are Mahayogi. Because a yogi has mystic power. What mystic power could be more mystical than to transform an envious person who's trying to kill even one of Krishna's most dear devotees and give that person Prem, free them from all anartha and give them the ecstatic love. That is the greatest mystic power. So Krishna is Yogi Yogi Mahayogi. So then, that Vidyadhara, he said the verse that we discussed last night, the verse that was spoken by Srila Haridas Thakur when he was explaining to that envious Brahmana that the chanting loudly of the holy names is 100 times better than remembering the holy names in the mind. So he said, "Yannama grinanakilan srotinapanamevacha," that, "Oh my Lord, by uttering your name, the person purifies themselves and purifies everyone who hears." So then, taking permission from Krishna, then that demigod, Sudarshan Vidyadhara, he bowed down to Krishna. He did parikrama of Krishna, he walked around, just like every morning we go around Tulsi. So all the crowds were watching this demigod boy do Krishna's parikrama. And then he bowed down again and then flew away through the sky and went back to the planet of the Vidyadharas. So at that time Mother Yashoda was there, Rohini and other elderly gopis, and they were, this is a well-known phrase in Sanskrit, Kim Kartavya Vimudha. Kim Kartavya Vimudha means, I'm so bewildered I don't know what to do or what to say. Because remember the Vrajabasis, they think, oh, Mother Yashoda saying, Krishna's my boy. He's just my boy. And all the Vrajabasis think he's the son of Nanda Maharaj, he's a Gopal, he's a coward boy. And they just saw with their own eyes a demigod circumambulating him and offering prayers to him. And they just can't process that because their prem does not allow them to register opulences. So Madhya Yashoda and the other ladies, they were just all standing there stunned. Kim Kartavya Vimutta, bewildered, what do we do? So then they did, with a typical kind of response for the ladies of the village when they don't know what to do. They just burst out crying. So then Madhya Yashoda and Rohini, so they just all burst out crying, and then they came forward and they embraced Krishna. And they embraced Balaram. And then that episode was over. So then the night was over and the dawn arrived. And in the dawning, when the dawn came, then all the Vrajabasis, as they had done on the way there, they took their places on their bullock carts and they set out. And by the influence of Yogamaya, can stretch. It can make a small place become huge so that millions of gopis can do Ras Leela just in a small area on the bank of Jamuna. Or it can also take a big area and shrink it as well, so that Krishna can go from Nandagaon to Radhakund just in a few minutes, even though it's quite far. So by the influence of Yogamaya, the holy places can stretch. So the Vrajabasis set out, and in a very short time they arrived back in Braja. So that is the chapter. Chapter 34, right? In between Rasa Leela, very high Rasa Leela, and Yugal Geet, very, very high. So, what's going on here? So now we gave the outline of the chapter. We want to go inside, the inside story of Ambikavan Tirtha Yatra. Ambikavan Parikrama. What is this Leela really, really all about? You should know that after the Ras Leela was completed, Krishna and the Braj Gopis, they felt so much separation from each other. Evam sasankangsu virajito nisha. Shukadev Goswami said at the end of the Ras, Evam sasasanku virajito nisha, means that after this Rasa Leela, just as they had performed the Rasa Leela on that full moon night of the Sharad season, they began to meet every night. Every night they were meeting. But how could they meet? Only because the Sakhis, the friends of the Yuteshwaris, the group leaders like Radhika, Chandravali, Shamala, and so on, they were very expert at cheating the in-laws. Very, very expert at cheating. You have to be. There are 16 services that Sakhis have to perform, and one of them is cheating the in-laws. Just like Lalita Sakhi, she can go to Abhimanyu and say, "Oh Abhimanyu, your most chaste and beautiful wife, Radhika, she wants to do a puja of Lord Shiva for your benefits, that you become prosperous and successful. But for this Abhishek, we need the milk of a red cow with brown eyes." Now you are very expert you know all the cows, and you have thousands and thousands of cows. If you can just find that cow and get us some milk from that cow, then Radhika will do the puja. So then Abhimanyu, after being flattered, he thinks, yes. And he sets off to find out such a cow, to get this milk. So, of course, there's no such cow like that in the whole herd. So he's looking for hours and hours and hours. Lalita comes back to Radharani. Okay, I've taken care of Abhimanyu. He doesn't know what he won't be inquiring into what you're doing for the next few hours. We have a chance to meet with Krishna like this. So there are many ways, tricks and traps that the gopis use to cheat the in-laws, the mother-in-law, sister-in-law, their husbands and so on. So for example, one morning, Radharani had returned from dancing with Sri Krishna in Rasa Leela. And Jyotila looked at Radharani and saw something. There was like a red mark on Radhika's moon-like cheek. And this mark was like the impression of a Makara Kunda. Now, because the question is, how how is it possible that Radhika would have the impression of a makara kundal on her cheek? So you can all understand the Dwani of this. Right? If you don't understand the Dwani, raise your hand. Everyone understands, okay, so I don't need to explain. So then Jutila sees this impression of an earring in the shape of it's like a crocodile creature, makara. Like half shark, half crocodile creature on Radhika's cheek, and Jutila's eyes became big. So then one of the Sakis of Radhika, seeing that Jutila had become suspicious, one of the Sakis said, "Oh, jewel among the elders, Jutila, on the cheek of my Saki, which is smeared with kumkum, there is definitely the design of a makara. And I tell you for sure the truth, I did not make that design. I have not painted that design for fun. You know what? I think Radhika's sapatni, that means co-wife, she must have painted it. Believe me, I would never tell a lie." So one Saki is speaking to Jutila in this way. Very, very clever. Do you understand what she's doing? She's saying, I didn't paint a makara on the cheek of Radhika for fun. It must have been her co-wife. Why? Because a co-wife would try to, because of envy, because of jealousy, makes the other co-wife look like she's unchaste. Right? Due to competition between sapatni, between co-wives. So, that Saki is saying, I didn't paint this mark on her cheek. It must have been her co-wife has done it. So what is she doing here? Because Jutila doesn't believe her. So she's telling a lie, knowing that Jutila won't believe her. So that means that Jutila will believe, no, this wasn't painted by a co-wife, you have done it. But it wasn't painted by the co-wife, and it wasn't done by Lalita, by any Saki of Radhika. So she's telling a lie about another lie, so that the mother-in-law will not believe the lie, but think is truth the second lie, which is behind it. So the actual truth, she'll never find out what happened. This is what it means to be expert at cheating the in-laws. You have to weave such a web of lies that the in-law is suspicious of you and thinks that you're lying. And then the other lie that was behind your lie, they believe that, but the truth they never get to it. Understand? Okay? So you can practice. But only in Siddha form, not in Sadhaka form. So then after some time, the in-laws, the elders, they became more and more suspicious. And they scolded their daughters-in-law. And they forbade them, no, you can't go out of the house. No independent movements at all. And they put guards watching them. So even though after Rasalila the gopis were going every night and meeting with Krishna, due to the in-laws seeing some signs and getting suspicious, now they were grounded. And there was no possibility to meet. Guards were watching them all the time. So then Krishna, he tried all types of remedies for this situation. Sometimes he would go outside the village, outside Yavat, and play on his flute, hoping that Radharani will know I am here and she'll try to sneak out somehow or other. Sometimes he would send some Priyanama Sakas, like Subal or Madhu Mangal, but they failed to get Radhika out of the house. Sometimes he would send his cousin sister. So his uncle is Upananda, and Upananda's son is named Subhadra, and Subhadra's wife is Kundalata. So Kundalata is kind of, has a relationship with Krishna like a sister. And so Krishna would send Kundalata, and she would try to do something. But whatever Krishna tried, whatever his associates tried, everything failed. All the obstacles, it was just too difficult to overcome. So now Krishna is in his home in Nandagaon. Radharani is in her home, mother-in-law's home, in Yavat. And both at the same time they're remembering each other. And they were thinking, before the Rasa Leela, before we actually intimately met together, I was a happy person. But now, after meeting my beloved closely, in that experience, such intense mamata, intense possessiveness rose up in my heart that now in separation, that mamata just wants to crush me into powder and paste. That mamata wants to crush us both to dust. And Krishna was crying, "Oh my beloved, what will I do now?" And in Yavat Radharani was crying, "Oh Krishna, Shama Kantuwali, with a beautiful dark complexion, what will I do now?" So then, in the intensity of their separation, at night, after the night was over, and they woke up in the morning, both Radha and Krishna, they were thinking, in the night, I met with my beloved. Not only that, but not only seeing each other, but full of fresh desires, we embraced, we touched each other. If that was just a spurti that I had in a dream, if it were not real, if it was only a spurti that I had in a dream, then I don't know how to save my pran from leaving my body. I want it so much to be real. If it were only a spurti in a dream, then I cannot stay alive. Or perhaps I was not asleep at night. I was awake during the night, tossing and turning. If it were a Jagrat spurti, a spurti that I had while I was awake, then even then I don't know how I will stay alive. Krishna cried, "Ha Krishna Kante, Ha Krishna Kante." Oh, that means, "Oh Radhika, beloved of Krishna." And Radhika was crying and calling the name of Krishna. "Where are you? Where are you?" So at that time now, Radha and Krishna, in separation, when they look at their own bodies, they seem to burn like fire. Why? Because each other's body is that by which they give pleasure to their beloved. So their own body has no meaning. Radhika only sees her body as the paraphernalia of Krishna's worship. Kimva Krishna Puja Krida Bosati Nagari. So only seeing her own body causes her to burn in separation. Krishna seeing his own body causes him to burn in separation. And when Radhika sees her friends, Lalita, Vishaka, Rupa, Manjari, when Krishna sees his friends, Madhu, Mangal, Subal, then only seeing the friends causes burning in separation. Because what do these friends do? They're just dedicated to arranging their meeting. So nothing that they see gives them any happiness or pleasure. Only the separation is becoming intense. So then, in the village, the month of Falgun came. And in the village everyone was talking. Oh, now it's Falgun. So on the 14th day, there's going to be a big festival in Ambikavan. Shall we go this year? Krishna overheard. Yes, let's go! That's a wonderful idea. Mahadev ki jai! Jaya Mahadeva, 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 Jaya Mahadeva. Once Krishna became excited and inspired to become a Shivite. I want to go, and when Nanda Maharaj and the others saw Krishna's restlessness, I want to go on the parikrama to Ambikavan. Then they all became inspired, so most of them, they volunteered, they all wanted to go. Just Abhinanda and Upananda stayed behind. So then, Krishna was enthusiastic because he thought, surely on this journey, and also when we get there, now I'll have a chance to meet with my beloveds. So, when the gopis saw Krishna climb up onto the top story of his bullock cart, then finally they were seeing him. They felt as if their eyes, like Kanjan birds, had been freed from a cage. After being kept like captive in their homes, now they were finally seeing Krishna. So then the parikrama started and they were traveling, and it took several days to get there. So on the way they had to camp, and all the young gopis, they used to stay together in different bullock carts together, or sometimes in tents which were attached to the bullock carts. So just as the moon travels through 27 nakshatras, so the moon is Chandradev, and he travels each day through one nakshatra, through 27 nakshatras. So the nakshatras are actually all female personalities. They're the daughters of Daksha Maharaj. Daksha Maharaj has many daughters, and they were born in groups. So one group of the daughters of Daksha Maharaj, they are the nakshatras, Ashwini, Bharani, nakshatra, and so on. So as they were traveling, just as the moon goes through the 27 nakshatras, so Krishna Chandra, the moon of Shri Krishna, met with privately with each one of the daughters of the cowherd people, the gopis of Vrindavan. He was meeting each night upon the journey. Now those gopis, they were far from the watchful eyes of their relatives, and Krishna engaged in so many beautiful new pastimes with them. And the gopis were enjoying this freedom from the village on this journey, and meeting with Krishna, they became so absorbed in bliss. They forgot to eat, they forgot to sleep, they were completely untouched by any dualities, and they were just like, oh, this is amazing, I don't even have to do any housework. Because Vedic culture doing the housework is just, that's the dharma, you know, you have to be totally into that. You know, they're like, oh, no housework. So gradually, the yatra, the party, arrived at the Mela in Ambikavan. And when they arrived there, they saw many spontaneous alleys and streets had come up, many stalls, many tents, and all different types of artists, experts, traders, cooks, performers, dancers, acrobats, magicians, clairvoyants, people selling clothing, jewelry, fashion items and everything. Everyone was there. So, taking advantage of the hustle and bustle of the Mela, Sri Krishna disguised himself in different ways in an effort to meet with the Braja Gopis. So, one day, during the Mela, Radhika and her Sakis, they also set off and they said, well, let's look around, see what's going on at the Mela. You know? So the young ladies, they always want to see if they can find some new bangles or rings or something like that. So they were going on, and they saw this one tent. And this tent said, mystic. There was a sign there, like clairvoyant. No? Has anyone ever been to a clairvoyant? To find their future? From some fortune teller? So, the young gopis, they were thinking, what will happen in the future to us? They're always worried, what will happen in the future? Will Krishna could leave maybe? Or he'll stay, or maybe he'll marry someone. Who will he marry? Can't marry me, I'm already married. So they're always wondering, will we get caught one day? Will there be a scandal in the village? So like that, they're interested to know what will happen in the future. So they saw this fortune teller. And Radhika and some of her friends, they went inside the tent. And there was a table. And the fortune teller was there. And she said, I am a Jyotish mantra yoga tantra vidushi. You know what a vidushi is? Vidush. Don't be avidush. Vidushi means a woman who is very learned. In what? In Jyotish Mantra Yoga Tantra. In the stars, in the future, in doing yoga, having mystic powers, doing tantric ceremonies, doing magic to control others and all kinds of things. So she knows everything. So that woman was there and she's covered over. And she said, I know Jyotish Shastra. I know mantras like a Damar mantra. If you chant the Damar mantra, then to whomever you're directing that, it makes their life chaos. Damar mantra. I know how to make tumult and chaos by Damar mantras. I know how to combine substances to make gold and silver, alchemy. And I know mantras to make puppets dance as if they're alive. So all the gopis are looking at each other. They are very eager. So then the gopi said, Oh Sarvagye, oh all-knowing mystic clairvoyant fortune teller woman, Jyotish Mantra Yoga Tantra Vidushi. They said, please tell us, which place in the three worlds bestows the greatest happiness? How candles are going. So, which place in the three worlds bestows the greatest happiness? So then that Vidushi said, Krishna Gostam. Krishna Gostam means Krishna's that means Brajmandal. Brajmandal is the place where you can experience the greatest happiness. So then the gopi said, what is the basis of this life in Brajamandal? The Vidushi said, Krishna Sankirtana. This is a fact, you should learn. This person really knows what they're talking about. The best place is Brajmandal. And the basis of the greatest joy in Brajmandal is Shri Krishna Sankirtana. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So then, a gopi said, Oh, Yoga Mantra Tantra Vidushi, Sarvagye, what vastu, what substance causes one to attain incomparable vaibhav? That means incomparable prosperity, happiness and fame. So then that Vidushi said, Krishna Alipsa. Krishna Alipsa. Krishna Alipsa means the desire to attain Krishna. All gopis were looking at each other. Oh, that's good. We've got some of that. So then a gopi said, Oh Sarvagye, can you tell us? It was a bit like this with candles and everything. Oh Sarvagye, can you tell us? What vastu is bhogya, is worthy to be enjoyed? The Vidushi said, Krishna Rupam. The beauty of Krishna. So then another gopi said, please tell us, in this life, what is the greatest fruit that one can attain in life? The Vidushi said, Krishna Labdhihi. That means attaining Krishna is the greatest fruit of life. So then all those gopis, after having a consultation with the fortune teller, they came out and they were very happy. Because now it had been confirmed that they were in the right path. They had the desire for Krishna, that Krishna is the greatest bhogya vastu, and the goal of life is just to attain him. So then they came out from the tent and they were wandering here and there in the festival. So then they met one duty, one messenger. So the gopis said, because they're going around, they're meeting people and talking to them. When you go to a festival, you meet interesting people and try to get to know them. So some gopis said to that duty, Who are you? That messenger's girl, she said, I am a duty. Gopi said, and whose duty are you? Whose messenger are you? That duty said, I am the duty of that person who is most dear to you. So then gopis were intrigued. They said, oh, and what is your gunavali? What qualities do you have? That messenger girl says, I have all qualities and virtues just like your pran priyatam, like your beloved. So then gopis couldn't believe that. Who has qualities like Krishna? So then the gopis said, what's the praman? Can you prove it? That you have qualities like our beloved? So then that duty said, come to that deserted tent over there with me. And you can take a look at my whole body and see for yourself. So then that duty smiled in such a way, Radhika looked and then she realized, it's Krishna. We've attained Krishna Labdhi. Then she thought, that fortune teller was right. The fortune teller saw our future and told us what is, and now it became true. So just see how cunning Krishna is. First he plays the role of the fortune teller and tells their fortune, and then he comes and makes it true. So in this way he's tricking all the gopis in different ways. So then the next night, Radharani was staying in her camp and she was feeling heartburn. Because any moment she's separated from Krishna, she feels that separation. So her Saki said, oh, you have heartburn, we'll bring a doctor. So they went, they couldn't find a doctor, but they found the Vaidya-patni, the wife of the doctor. So then they bought the wife of the doctor, and in Ayurveda, then you can basically make a diagnostic of the entire body just by taking the pulse. Because there are 3 pulses, and the doctor puts his fingers in 3 places, and then presses 1, 2, 3 times, and takes the pulse at 3 different levels. And by the combination of 9 pulses, then it's like a barcode, you know? When you buy something, there's a barcode on it, and it has all the information of what the item is. So by the pulses, 9 pulses, then the doctor can read your entire health. So then, the wife of the doctor came and put her hand on Radhika's pulse and began to take the pulse. But then, Radhika, she said to her Sakis, alas, alas, now I am condemned. Fie on Dikkar, Dikkar, fie on me. Because this doctor is touching my pulse, but now she started to touch my other limbs. So the implication here is that a doctor in Vedic culture only has the adhikar to touch your pulse, not anywhere else. So in Vedic culture, if you do an activity which is outside of your adhikar, it's considered to be condemned activity. So Radharani is saying, Dikkar, Dikkar, I am condemned, I am condemned. Why? Because this doctor is touching me in such a way that the doctor has no adhikar. And also, I am also condemned because I am allowing this. So this is anadhikar chesta. So then Radhika realized this was not a doctor. It was Krishna himself. He'd come in another disguise. Another day passed. The gopis met one beautiful girl who was an expert musician. And they invited her, oh, come to our camp and do a performance. So they brought that girl back to the tent where Radhika and some of her Sakis were staying. And you know, when you're traveling and you stay together, it's very crowded. Like, who's staying in a room which is like with lots of people, right? So the gopis, they're traveling and their accommodation is quite small, and there are many of them all sleeping there. There's almost no room. On the ground, their beds are spread out like this, side by side, touching each other. So then, they asked this musician, can you play for us? So then that flute-playing girl, she played in very beautiful ragas. And the night was passing, it was getting really late. And they were all carried in the ways of bliss. But then, they noticed, oh, half the night has passed. And they asked that flute playing girl, "Oh, where do you live?" She said, "Oh, I live very far away." Radhika said, "Oh, then it's not possible for you to go all the way home in the middle of the night. You can stay here with us." So then Radhika said, "Oh, there's not much room, so why don't you just take my bedding and fold it in half, and take another bedding, fold it in half, and put that next to my bedding, and this flutist, she can stay here with me." So then, after that, then Radhika realized who this flutist was. Again, Krishna was successful. The next day, Braj Gopis, they started to walk around the Mela looking for something interesting. And they found that there was one poetess. She was a female poet and she was reciting a beautiful poetry and the audience was sitting, listening. So Radhika and the Gopis came and sat down. And they were listening. But though this poetry was not about Radhika, it was about another character, another heroine. But this poetry was describing all secret things that Radhika and Krishna did together in the poetry. And Radhika was listening. And she said to her Saki, "Oh Saki, this beautiful young woman has studied the 64 arts. She studied Vyakaran, grammar, and Kavya, and all poetic skills. And because of this, she can compose unprecedented poetry. I understand that. But what I cannot understand, what is completely inexplicable, is how does she know all of our secrets? I don't understand how it's possible." Again, the gopis, they were walking around the festival. And they saw in the distance, one female artist was painting a picture of a forest. So the gopis said, "Oh, they're interested in arts, especially the Chitrasaki. She knows about painting chitras." So Radhika and her Sakis went over to watch the artist and see her skills. So the artist was painting a beautiful forest. And then the artist painted a beautiful golden complexioned girl standing in the forest. And then next to that golden girl, painted a beautiful sham-colored boy with a peacock feather in his hair. And as Radhika was watching, she was thinking, "Oh, this artist knows because they're trying to hide from everyone. This artist knows about our secrets." So in this way, and then afterwards, then she discovered this is not an artist, and she met with Krishna again. So in this way, see Krishna, actually by Yogamaya, he has many forms, many different forms. And though different gopis, thousands of gopis were wandering all over the Mela here and there, in each place they would meet with an astonishing new friend or character or personality, and it just turns out that it was Krishna in disguise making a plan to trap them and enjoy sweet pastimes with them. So, as Radhika and her friends were walking around the Mela, they saw someone was selling tambul. So tambul can be many different flavors. So then the seller of the tambul said, "Oh, try this flavor." And when that tambul seller lady put the tambul in Radhika's mouth, Radhika was in ecstasy. She said, "Oh Lalita, I want to tell you something privately, I'm not telling anyone else. But this woman who maintains her life by selling tambul, she must know some kind of Mohan mantra. Because if you prepare some food and chant mantras over it, this is a tantric technique. In India, brahmacharis in India know this. They're very, very careful what food they take. Because some girl in the village who is attracted to the brahmachari, she'll prepare some food at home and do some tantra on it. And then bring it to the temple and say, "Oh, would you like some Mahaprasad?" Then the brahmachari will eat it, then at night he starts dreaming about her. So, Radharani is saying, this tambul seller must know some tantra, because when I taste this, then I become completely bewildered. But what is actually? That when Radhika tastes the tambul from the hand of Krishna, then she goes into a state of great ecstasy. So then, they were wandering around, they saw one garland seller, made so many different garlands. And she was enjoying the festival, and happily she was giving some of her garlands. And she came and she put the garland around the neck of Radhika. Then Radhika said, "Oh, this garland maker is distributing beautiful garlands. That's wonderful. But why is it that by the touch of this garland, my desire for the flowers of Sri Krishna has suddenly become inflamed?" So what does it mean, the flowers of Sri Krishna? You know, in Srimad Bhagavatam there's a verse, Nama Pankaja Nabhaya, Nama Pankaja Maline, Nama Pankaja Netraya, Namaste Pankajangre. Krishna, his navel, Ahusjate Nalinanaba Padaraga, the navel of Krishna is beautiful like a lotus flower. His eyes are like lotus flowers. His feet are like lotus flowers. So somehow or other, by the touch of this garland, then her desire to serve the beauty of all the lotuses in Sri Krishna's body was suddenly inflamed. Why? Because it's another trap of Sri Krishna. He had come as the garland maker. So then the gopis were walking around, and there was one fruit seller selling different kinds of fruits. So one gopi said to a Saki, "Oh, look at that fruit seller over there, selling many different varieties of fruit. But now I don't understand. Why is she holding a bell fruit and staring at me?" You know what bell fruit looks like? So, so then the gopis were looking around, and they saw one stall was selling clothing. You know, so shopping for clothing is a favorite pastime of teenage girls. So they were looking around, looking for some nice clothing, and they came there, and they saw the lady who was the maker of the clothing. So seeing some customers had come, then that lady said, "I am an extremely clever seamstress. I have such a skill that just looking at the workmanship, the craft of others, through my eyes I acquire that skill myself. So in this way, by seeing so many designs and different types of clothing, now I've developed the skill. I can create all of these different types of clothing. But I have one rule in my life, and that is, I never show my best work to those who are not affectionate. Only those who are really affectionate persons, I show my work to them." So then, that seamstress opened her anchal, her veil, and underneath she was wearing a very ornate, jewel-decorated choli. And she said, "Look at this choli, this bodice I am wearing. Do you like it?" Gopi said, "Yes, it's very beautiful." He said, "Well, you know, I can make one just like this for you, and I'll personally fit it myself. Made to measure. So just step into my tent, and allow me to take the measurements." So have you ever been, it may have happened, because not when you're in a dhoti or anything, but if you're in normal clothes, sometimes you might be in a shop, and someone who's in the shop mistakes you for being one of the people in the shop and asks you, "Oh, well, have you got this size?" I said, "No, actually I don't work here." So the gopis, they were in this stall, and one lady came up to them and said, "Hey, Brajastri, I see that you're selling mirrors and bows and coral and pearls. But my question is there any merchandise that you're hiding?" Sometimes a person has a shop, but there's some merchandise that is not on display. They keep it in the stock. So he said, "I can see that you're openly selling mirrors, bows, coral and pearls. But that's not what I want to buy. I want to buy 2 golden pots. Are they for sale? Do you have them? Are they available from you?" So the meaning here is, mirrors, you're openly selling mirrors, means your cheeks, because their cheeks are so shiny that Krishna can see his reflection in their cheeks. Bows means the eyebrows are so long and curved, like a bow. Coral and pearls means their lips are reddish like coral. And then when they smile, then there are rows of pearls inside. But he said, I don't want to buy. These are openly for sale. But what are you hiding? What stock do you have hidden? I want to buy just 2 large golden pots. So then, gopis were going here and there. And sometimes, there are some healers at a festival. So they met one lady there, came up to a gopi and said, "Oh, fortunate gopi, I am very expert in massage. And my hands are very soft and eager to attain your service. And the speciality of my massage is this, that whomever I touch, then the happiness of my touch, it defeats the Brahmananda. It defeats Muktiananda. It's superior than Brahma Sukh, just from the touch of my hands. If someone feels happiness from being liberated and realizing the light of Brahman, then just the touch of my hands is superior to this." So in this way, in many, many forms, all over the Mela, meeting with many, many gopis, Krishna was disguising himself and by tricks and traps, enjoying beautiful pastimes. Sometimes he became the maker of crowns, flower crowns. Sometimes the maker of jewelry, bangles and ornaments. And many other disguises, which should not be discussed in a public assembly. So in this way, see, Krishna filled that dark fortnight with it was not a dark fortnight, the glow of beautiful Madhurya Prem was experienced by all Braja Gopis on that pilgrimage. So now we come to the Tatparya Vritti. We've heard the Abhida Vritti, Lakshana Vritti, Bhyanjan Vritti, now the Tatparya Vritti. When the arrow goes through the shield and the armor and the cloth, and it has to touch the pran, that's where it's going. So what is the pran of this? The meaning of this pastime is that all these Braja Gopis are serving Krishna with such love that they attain a place within his heart. So your heart, there's a lotus flower in your heart chakra. So Krishna has a lotus in his heart. And each of those gopis has a place on one of the petals of the lotus of Krishna. So that lotus of Krishna's heart has thousands and thousands of petals. And some gopis attained a place on the tips of the petals. Some gopis attained a place on a petal in the next row in. Some gopis attained a place on the next row in. And then on the inner rows, Lalita is on one petal, Chandravali is on one petal. But in the Karnikara of the lotus of Krishna's heart, there Srimati Radhika took her place. So if you want to know the heart of Krishna, what is going on behind these lotus eyes, that his heart is like a lotus. And all the gopis are on the petals of that lotus, going closer and closer, until finally Srimati Radhika is in the center. Therefore, these gopis, they're not coward girls, they're not women. They are the vilas of Sri Krishna's Swarup Shakti. They're his own internal pleasure potency, always residing in his heart. And because Radhika is situated in the Karnikara of Sri Krishna's heart, then the Tatparya Vritti, the ultimate meaning of this pastime, is that our persistent and insistent inclination and affection lies exclusively at the lotus feet of Radhika. That is the Tatparya, the meaning of Srimad Bhagavatam, and especially also of this pastime. So we are praying, may that Srimati Radhika sprinkle us with her mercy, that we become completely insistent and persistent with a constant, uninterrupted affection only for her lotus feet. Barasaniwali ki jai, Shubhanu Rajkumari Ju ki jai, Jai Sri Radhe. We mentioned that when Sri Krishna arrived at the festival, then all the people were flowing to him uncontrollably. They became stunned. Their eyes were like lotuses. Their hair standing on end was like the moss in the lake. And tears flowing from the eyes were like ripples. These are anubhavs. Right? So we cannot explain how beautiful Krishna is. But from the anubhavs of the people, we can infer how beautiful Krishna is. So now, in the same way, Krishna putting on so many disguises, coming in so many forms, using so many tricks and traps, those are Krishna's anubhavs. In other words, we cannot find the words to describe how beautiful is Radhika and how powerful is the love of Radhika for Krishna. But we can infer from it that because it makes Krishna mad and he has all these anubhavs of assuming so many different disguises, from that we can infer something about the greatness of Radha Prem. Bale Vrindavan Bihari Lal ki jai, Saraswati ki jai, Jai Shri Radhe. Krishna Govinda Govinda Gopala, 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 Krishna Govinda Govinda Gopala. Vrindavan Bihari Lal ki Jai, Shivali ki Jai, Jai Sri Radhe. And this is why this chapter comes between Rasa Leela and Yuga.